Retirement isn't the reward you were promised. For many men, it slowly robs them of their purpose, their identity, and their energy until one day they don't even recognize themselves. If you don't take control now, you could lose everything that you spent a lifetime building. Retirement for me started off exciting. I remember it clear as day. Friday, December 28th, 2018. It's my last day. I remember writing an email to the team. There was 85 people there. And I just did a personal thank you of gratitude, gave my personal email, and said, look, if any of you ever want to reach out to me, here's my email. I'd love to hear from you. That was Friday at 2 o'clock. I hit send, logged out of my computer. It was over. And as I walked around the office saying goodbye to everybody, I noticed they were all busy. They were working. They had clients. They were on the phone. And I was now all of a sudden a little bit of a distraction. Some hung up the phone and said goodbye, but many of them didn't. And then over the weekend I waited and I waited for all the emails that would come back into my personal email. And I got 2. And I'm not saying that to complain. I'm just saying that the reality of retirement, when you leave a job or you go through a big change, it doesn't always turn out the way you expected it to. Now, I was relieved to have all this free time back. I was relieved to be able to spend that weekend with Jody doing what we wanted to do, when we wanted to do it, and celebrate the fact that we both had good, long, successful careers. And now was our time to travel, play pickleball, do what we wanted to do when we wanted to do it. And on Monday morning when we woke up, I remember feeling a little bit like, well, I'm going to still have my coffee in the morning. I might do a little journaling, but I don't have anywhere to go. So slowly over time, over the next few weeks and months, into about 6 months, everything started to fall apart. My vision of what I thought retirement was going to be like didn't turn out that way. It just wasn't this wonderful, great, fantastic, super time of my life that everything was working well. I had lost my identity. I didn't know how to fill the 40 plus hours of free time that came my way. I didn't have a passion or purpose. I didn't have a reason to get up in the morning. And I found myself drinking too much, watching a lot of TV, and just walking around aimlessly like a ship lost at sea without a rudder. Something had to change, and it was up to me to change it. So I did. And that's what I want to talk about today. So the reason that many men get this wrong is that they have their identity tied pretty tightly to their career. And when they step away from that, all of a sudden now they find themselves without a new identity, and they start to drift a little bit. You know, they start to wander from moment to moment and day to day and week to week without really purpose. The loss of routine probably hits men more than women. Women are really good social animals, so they can kind of find their way through. Men, you know, we had our routine during our career. We had everything wired. We knew what we needed to do. We were helping people. We were making things happen. The status in your identity is gone. I mean, you spent decades probably building up who you were, whether you were a foreman on a job, you were a manager, people reporting to you, whatever it might be. There was, I'll call it a little bit of ego, but there was definitely some status in who you are. And this masculine block for men, I think, gets in the way, that we're supposed to be tough and resilient and figure it all out. And when you're not figuring out, you feel a little bit lost. So a new way to look at it is this. You're not done. You're actually in transition. And this is a new phase of life. Identity's not fixed. It's evolving. You can become someone else. You can and need to embrace transition. And you are not what your resume says you are. And this idea of loneliness, which is really critical, and you want to be really careful of it, it's not a personal thing, it's a structural thing. You're not, retirement models up until now put you alone a lot. There's not this good push to go out and get involved with groups and meet other people. Kind of hang on to your old relationships and not really taught how to create new ones. So we want to change that. So the first thing I want to do is talk to you a little bit about expecting retirement to be like a vacation. You know, when we're working, we all save up for our vacation. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it might be. If you have 4 weeks a year, maybe you take 2 in the summer, 1 at holiday time, 1 in the winter. And that's always a great escape. And it's good to disconnect from your phone and email and all of that. But retirement is not a full-time vacation because that doesn't work. I'm telling you, it won't work. Some people say they like it, they relax, they do what they want to do. That's good. But if you're mixing in at least some routine in the morning, you're going to the gym, you're working on your health, you're drinking less, you're really watching who you are, then you're going to be okay. But it cannot be a full-time vacation. So here's one thing that you can do is to start something in the morning. Set a weekly rhythm of goals or rituals or routines. You know, I have a pretty significant morning routine that I now call a ritual, and I get up early and I journal and I pray and I read scripture, catch up on the news a little bit, and then I go to the gym. I just start working out right away. So that for me sets my day and my week. So it's important to do that. So the other thing is thinking that your career was it, that it was your whole life, and now you get to coast. No, your career, the job that you had, whatever it was, is just one chapter. You know, you had the chapter in elementary school and high school and college, and then you might have had multiple jobs or multiple roles with that company. Those are just chapters, and they end, and now there's a new beginning, and that's why we call this the discovery years instead of retirement. We don't use that word anymore, Jody and I. And these discovery years are the time when you can actually learn really who you're meant to be and what you're meant to do and how you can help others and go on vacation and slow down a little bit and play pickleball and play a little more golf. But it can't just be golf, pickleball, lunch, and dinner. There's got to be more to it. So one of the things you could do is to think about writing a personal mission statement for this chapter. We talk a lot about mission statements in our masterclass that's going to be running again this September. I have a personal mission statement for all of the 7 pillars that we talk about, but the one that I love the most, my physical wellness vision, is to be physically independent at the age of 90. And that vision statement drives me to go to the gym, eat right, drink less, work on my mind, because that's really important to me. All right, the third thing I want to talk about is how most men ignore their emotional health. And this is a significant problem, more for men than for women. Men are creatures that really don't like to share. They don't like to open up. They don't like to be vulnerable. I don't know about you, but I don't always like to be vulnerable because I feel like I might get judged or criticized. I don't always feel safe. But the way to work on your emotional health is find at least one person, if not a few. And if it's your wife or your husband or your partner, that's great, or a child. And learn how to be vulnerable and to open up so that you're not carrying a burden around. And I'm such a huge believer in journaling every morning. I write down my 3 gratitudes, 1 self-affirmation about myself that I'm good at, good dad, good husband, good YouTuber, and then 3 things I'm looking forward to today. And that just sets my day for my emotional health, that I'm positive, I'm up, and I'm not sad. Because I can get sad. I can wake up and be sad. And the first person I go to when I feel that way is Jody. And I tell her, I'm having a tough morning. I'm feeling sad. Can we talk about it? She always pulls me out of it, which is great. The fourth thing I want to talk about is, you know, in this discovery phase, when you leave your career, relationships don't maintain themselves. They just don't. Now, there are some, like some of my college roommates, some of my early mentors, some of my relatives, they maintain themselves. My college roommates, I can get together once a year and it's enough. We talk 3 or 4 times a year, it's good. But you're going to lose relationships. You're going to lose the people at work. And you can keep some of those alive, but it's up to you and me and us to work on that, to make a concerted effort to build those relationships. So one thing that you can do is to make a list of your most significant relationships, mentors, particularly if there's an older person in your life that had an influence on you. Call them before it's too late to thank them for everything they did for you. I remember talking to my scoutmaster, Armin Lancia, and he was in his 80s, and it was just before he passed away. And I went to his house and sat with him and talked to him a lot about what he meant to me. And I've done that with one of my dad's old business partners and all of that. So these relationships are important, and work on creating new relationships. But make this list and reach out to one friend a week for the next 6 weeks and see what happens. I think you might be surprised. 5, without structure, time will slip away. You cannot just wake up whenever you wake up every day and say, okay, what am I going to do today? You could do that once in a while. You could do that on Saturday. I save Saturday and Sundays for those days where I just might wake up and say, I don't know what I'm going to do. Or I might plan golf, or Jody and I might plan a day trip somewhere. But during the week, the 5 days of the week, because a lot of people are still working, it's good to be in a habit to have a morning routine, to have a little bit of structure at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, and maybe in the middle of the day. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself, again, going from moment to moment and not really feeling like you're getting a lot out of life. So let's talk about the risk that people face when they leave their career and enter retirement. Jody and I have now called that retirement drift. It's real, but it's also reversible. And it's this aimlessness that you feel when you just don't know what to do. You're drifting around. You might not even be realizing what it is, but we've called it retirement drift. And it feels like boredom, regret, aimlessness, and the awareness that you're in this is the first step to fixing it. So you got to think about that. So I want you to do a personal check-in. Not right now, but write this down. Rate your purpose, like how are you doing with purpose on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best. Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 on your health. Are you healthy? Are you exercising? Are you doing what you need to do? Or are you a little bit overweight? Are you eating poorly? Are you maybe drinking too much? You're not really paying attention to the food you put in your mouth. So I want to give yourself a scale of 1 to 10 on purpose, health, and lastly, joy. How happy are you from day to day? Maybe do this each morning and do it for a while. And where you see a weakness, where you're low on that scale, you want to put some effort into that. Number 7 I want to talk to you about is your health. You know, I know so many men that just don't go to the doctor. They don't think it's a priority. And a couple of men that I know tell me that they don't go because they don't want to look for trouble. I mean, that's why you go to the doctor. And then I have other people that say they go to the doctor and the doctor always finds something, and then you have to go back for a follow-up and it's a real pain in the butt. Well, you know, as a father of a 40-year-old man, my son Markham, who was diagnosed 2 years ago with stage 4 metastasized colorectal cancer, I think going to the doctor is really important to uncover any problems that might be there right now and future problems. And your doctors, you want to have a good relationship with your doctor, but your health needs a new definition. Vitality is important. You want to manage decline. You want to manage your strength. You want to manage your grumpy old man factor. You don't want to become a grumpy old man. My dad did, and it was terrible. Terrible for him, terrible for his relationships, and terrible for the whole family. So you don't want to do that. So from your physical health point of view, movement is key. So one thing that you could do that helps a lot of different areas of your life is schedule a 30-minute walk each day. In the morning, in the afternoon. I just had a health assessment yesterday at the new gym Jody and I went to. And he talked about heart rate. And when you're working out really hard and you're up to like 120, 140, I think my maximum heart rate for me is maybe 140. And I'm learning all this thinking, this seems so complicated. He said, but if you don't put protein in your body right after that, then your body's going to eat your muscle. And I could have this wrong. So if there's someone out there smarter than me and I heard it wrong, then leave a comment. But the thing that really caught me is he said that everybody should walk between 20 and 40 minutes a day, a speed walk, with purpose, like walking kind of fast. Get your heart rate up to maybe 90, and that's how you burn fat. And I want to gain muscle and burn fat, and I feel like I've got extra fat, so I'm going to start doing that. So what are you going to do to work on your health today? Just make that commitment to yourself, for your family, your loved ones, and your longevity. All right. Reinvention is the real work of retirement. You do not want to be the person who is a used to. They say, I used to do this, I used to do that, I used to be really good at this, I used to be really good at that. That's what my father did. He did not reinvent himself. Jody and I have reinvented ourselves. A lot of our clients have reinvented themselves. We have a 10, 20, 30-year runway now in this discovery phase. So it's time to learn a few things and teach and mentor and whatever it might be. Write a book. I mean, there's so much that you can do to actually become in my mind, who you were meant to be. So here's something you can do. Choose one project. I don't know. One project, a hobby, a role, like that energizes you, something that gives you energy, a position volunteering, and put some effort into that and see where that leads you down the road. It's not that easy. Sometimes I get it, but it's really important to do. Let's talk about busyness. I see so many retirees and I say, how's it going? Oh, I'm busy all day long. I am at the laundry. I'm picking up this. I'm doing some food shopping now. I do that. Busyness is not the same as purpose. Busyness can wear you down. Going to pick up the laundry, going food shopping every day. Unless you're like me, like you like to cook, I actually get a lot of satisfaction and purpose out of coming up with a dinner plan, making a shopping list, going shopping, coming back and cooking it. So cooking for me is not a burden. It's actually a purpose. So I get into that. So instead of just staying busy, plug something in during the day that's tied to purpose. So one thing to do that is, again, I'm a big journaler. Maybe carve out an hour this week where you're just going to sit down, just get a binder of some kind and start writing about purpose. What are some things that you can do to feel purposeful this week? And do that for an hour and then do it for an hour next week and next week. And I think things and ideas will start to come to you. Let's talk about legacy. Some people confuse legacy with gifts and money and things like that. No, it's really who you become in this stage of life and how you are remembered. It's not just financial, it's relational, relational and emotional. Like, how are you connected to people? How will people remember you at your funeral? How do they remember you now? I mean, if you can start becoming more present in people's lives today, your friends, your children, your wife or husband, all of a sudden now you're a different person and people will notice that change. So why don't you try this? Write down 3 of your most significant values that are important to you and model them daily. So, God, my dad used to always have this saying, I'm trying to think of it. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's probably out of the Bible. But behave in a way that you're being positive and friendly and encouraging and viable and purposeful. And people will notice and they'll really appreciate you. You hear us talk a lot on this channel about habits. And maybe you've got some bad habits that you need to break yourself. We created a free download, is below, the 5 bad habits to stop while you're retired. So download that and use that as a tool to break some bad habits. All right, growth doesn't stop after 55. I used to think that I was told by my dad at the age of 20 that you work really hard your whole career. Save enough money so that at 55 or 60 or 65, when it's your time, then you don't have to worry about anything. You've got enough money to live on. You can just relax. You can travel. You can go live down in Florida in the winter, up here in the summer, whatever you want to do. Well, that's such bad advice now. I tell my kids that keep a journal and constantly think about what you're going to do when you turn 40 or 50. The big change happens now. I'm 68 years old and I love learning and I love trying new things and experimenting. And I don't mind failing because then I know I'm growing. But growing at this stage of life is absolutely probably the number one thing to do, to have an open mind, and instead of being a closed-minded, be open to new things, to try new things and experiment and see what comes your way when you do that. Now, I got some questions my team put together that go along with the topic we talked about today. So first question is from John. He's 64 years old. And he says, Mark, how did you realize you were in retirement drift? I'm retired, but still busy. How do I know if I'm just filling time or actually living with purpose? Well, the only one that can answer that question is you. So if you want to try an experiment, starting on Monday through Sunday, keep a weekly log of everything that you do each day. And be honest with yourself. I woke up at 8 o'clock. I turned the TV on for an hour. I showered. I went to the laundromat. I came back, picked up the laundry, had lunch with a friend. Get as granular as you can. I sat around and did nothing. For 3 hours, I felt bored. I tried to watch a TV show. I didn't like it. I channel surfed for 3 hours because I couldn't find anything. I spent 6 hours on YouTube on ridiculous stuff. I didn't learn anything. So I want you to put the good, the bad, and the ugly in there, and you're going to realize if you're drifting or if you have purpose. So I want you to try that. Okay. Here's a question. Steve from Denver asks, I never thought I'd have to rebuild my identity. Well, I didn't either. Mark, what was the first thing you did to redefine yourself without work? Well, redefine myself. The first thing I did was define myself as a retiree. And that didn't work out. You know, my dad was the guy that had the business card. He had his name and his phone number and his address. He always liked business cards when it was during his career. And his title now was retired. Markham F. Rollins Jr., retired. And I would, at the time I thought it was kind of cute and funny, and I used to love handing it out. But I'm telling you, retired is not a title. It's a time. It's a phase of life. And we don't even use it anymore. We call it the discovery years. So I failed in the beginning. And then again, I started to journal and think about my skills, my gifts. How can I turn all of the experience that I had accumulated over all the 38 years of my career and repurpose it? And we ended up starting Retirement Transformed, and we're still growing. I mean, we're doing great. Our channel just went over 100,000 subscribers today, which is incredible. So appreciate that. Maybe this question came from YouTube, so I appreciate that. But I think you'll, rebuilding your identity is not easy, but it takes time. It takes intention, and it takes some journaling. Okay, let's see. You talked about structure creating momentum. I did. It does that. What does a day with real structure look like for you now? It's a great question. That's from Terry, former CEO of a company, and he's 61 years old. So a day for me with structure always starts with my morning routine. And I have fine-tuned that to the point it's not a routine, it's a ritual. I get up between 4 and 4:30 every day. And I'm not suggesting you need to do that, but I just get up early go downstairs, I drink 12 ounces of water, I have my coffee, I read my scripture, I do some journaling, I might catch up on the news, check on YouTube, and then I'm off to the gym. So by the time I get back from all of that, from 4:30 to 6, I've done a ton of stuff. And then I'll have coffee with Jody. It's a little bit different here in New Jersey where we actually go to the gym together, which is better. Then we come back and we plan our day. So we put structure in every single day. We plan every single day. And let me just say this, sometimes we plan nothing. Our structure is that we're gonna wing it today. Let's do a couple things. We'll shower, get ready. Why don't we leave here at 10 o'clock and let's drive an hour south and we'll have lunch out and we'll walk around, window shop a little bit and just hang out. But it's still structure. We're not laying around at 10 o'clock going, what do you want to do now? I don't know. What do you want to do? So I think having structure, it grounds you and it gives you the ability to move on to the next moment. Okay, hope that was helpful. Because your question, structure, create momentum, it creates a lot of momentum because then things are happening. All right, let me see. What's another question here that looks good? Journaling sounds simple, but what do I even write about? I've never done that before. Robert, who's 69. So here's my journaling. And Jody and I are thinking about creating a journal for Retirement Transformed for the discovery years. And, we think it'd be helpful. But my journaling is very simple. And you can just get a pad of paper, a book, and write this down. First thing I do is write down 3 things I'm grateful for. And the first one's always Jody and something about Jody that I love. So it's Jody and something about her I love. And then 2 other things I'm grateful for: my health, my drive, my ambition, my success, my ability to come back from failure, my relationship with my children. I sometimes just put my kids' names down there. So things you're grateful for: the weather, the sun's out, whatever it might be. Then I write down 3 things I'm looking forward to doing today. And it could be, it's not going to be doing nothing, but it could be the day trip Jody and I have planned. It could be filming videos. It could be lunch with a friend. It could be calling an old acquaintance. It could be playing golf, whatever it is. But 3 things I'm looking forward to because that kind of gets me excited. And then I write 1 self-affirmation. And that just means writing down something positive about yourself. I'm a good father. I'm a good husband. I'm a good writer. I'm a good friend. I'm a good soul. Something that you're good at. I'm a good carpenter. I'm good at getting things done around the house. Something that makes you feel good. And then I journal and I make a list of the 5 most important things I need to get done today. That sets my day for getting things done, checking things off as I do it. And it's a great way to start every day. So why don't you try that now as a way to journal? It's not complicated. It's pretty easy. And I'll tell you that it works. If you've enjoyed this video, you're going to love this one too. If you don't invest in your relationships, you just get comfortable with your relationship with your wife or your children or your best friends or your small circle of men that you're with, if you just get comfortable and you don't feed them, they're going to go away and you're going to suffer. And they're frankly going to suffer too.